Hello, ma'am. Welcome to our program Morning Echoes once again, and it is a pleasure to have you here. So, today we would like to talk on a sensitive topic that is on child sexual abuse. So, first of all, I would like to begin the interview by asking you on what do we mean by child sexual abuse?
Hi, Senti. Thank you. It's indeed a pleasure being here talking to you again. And a big thank you that we are using this national platform to talk about this very sensitive issue, but a very important topic, child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is probably one of the most not spoken about topics, and most of us have an almost no understanding of what it is. Yes. So, Senti, like you shared with me, you have recently also conducted a program with a lawyer where you all spoke in detail about the various legal aspects of the POCSO Act and so on. Today, we will just be focusing on the psychological aspects, right? So, I will not go into a legal definition of child sexual abuse. For us to understand as laypersons, child sexual abuse is any act done to a child who is underage where any form of inappropriate sexual advances are made towards the child. Okay, so it is not necessarily about the sexual act per se. It can also be exposing the child to inappropriate photographs, about talking to them about inappropriate things, about touching the child inappropriately, or getting the child to touch the other person, the abuser, inappropriately. Okay, so basically something, because as we all understand, children and sexuality is something that do not go together. Right? It's only after a human being, a child, has reached sexual maturity, only after that are they ready to take decisions or to in any way get involved in any form of sexual acts. So anything done before that age is considered as child sexual abuse.
So, ma'am, who are more prone to child sexual abuse?
Cindy, when you ask this question, interestingly, the answer is every child is equally vulnerable to child sexual abuse, no matter what age, no matter what race, caste, socioeconomic status, family structure, gender. In fact, often we think that girl children are more susceptible to child sexual abuse, and we tend to be more particular about keeping our girls safe. However, that is one of the things that put the boys at greater risk, because boys are just as equally vulnerable to child sexual abuse.
Okay. And talking about the abuser, so how often is the abuser a stranger?
The answer to that, Senti, is almost never. And that is what makes talking about child sexual abuse that much more important. Because unlike assault, right, sexual assault, child sexual abuse is almost always done by someone who is known to the child, who might actually be a close family member or definitely a family friend. So someone who the child knows socially and feels comfortable with, is familiar with, and those are the people who end up abusing the child.
Okay. Then, ma'am, is child sexual abuse a one-time event?
Again, yes, this is a very important question, Senti. No. Unlike sexual assault, something like rape, which of course is an extremely, extremely traumatic thing and should never, never happen, at least it is a one-time event. It happens and then it's over, right? Child sexual abuse is something that in itself, the pattern is that the abuser will continue to harm the child for days on end, months on end, or in fact, there have been cases where the child continued to be abused by the person for years on end till the child gained sexual maturity. Because after that, most of the times they lose interest in the child, or maybe the child realizes or is able to move away or break away from the pattern that is going on.
Can child sexual abuse be a traumatic experience for the victim?
That's what we think, right? Like, just like when we think of sexual assault, we think, of course, it's a traumatic experience. And so when we talk about child sexual abuse, in our minds, we think, of course, it must be a traumatic experience, right? But this actually is a myth. Child sexual abuse, think of it, it is happening, let's say, to a 4-year-old or even to an 8-year-old. He or she does not know what's going on. Almost all children, to begin with at least, are either just amused or think it is some sort of a game they are being introduced to, or if at all, they just are confused. They don't know what's going on. But they definitely do not see it as a traumatic experience or see it as something that they need to avoid or protect themselves from.
Okay.
So that is yet another reason why we need to be speaking about it today, and we need to be telling people to become aware of it. Because for children, for the child who is the victim, initially, it's not a traumatic experience at all. But there will come a point in life for that child who has been victimized when he or she realizes what was actually going on. And at that point, then, the level of guilt that the person gets shrouded in has extremely severe psychological repercussions. Because then they kind of take it all upon themselves and they think, I called it upon myself. I allowed it to happen. I encouraged it. And they feel so traumatized because, one, they are feeling terrible and horrible about what they underwent. And to add to it, they feel, I'm responsible for it. So that is a very, very scary part of child sexual abuse, and one of the most harmful effects, harmful ways in which it affects the person who gets victimized.
In a later stage of their life or over time, do they forget about these incidents?
Senti, when you ask that, okay, whatever happened in their childhood as we grow up, so do we forget about it? Maybe overtly at the conscious level, some of us are able to. Though in my experience with people so far, I have seen that no, it almost never happens. This is the kind of traumatic experience that kind of stays with people even as they grow older. I've had clients who might be 45 or 50 years old. And when they open up and talk about something that happened to them, some incident of child sexual abuse when he or she was, let's say, 5 years old. And this 50-year-old is speaking about it for the first time ever. So all these years, he or she has kept it inside their heart and never, ever been able to speak about it to another human being. So one, no, they are not able to forget about it. And two, it continues to traumatize them. That's the sad part. That particular thing, whatever happened, may have finished off so many years back, but it continues to live with that human being, with that child. And even after they have grown up, it continues to traumatize them and torment them unless they are able to get it out of their system, talk about it to someone, and get appropriate help for it.
Okay. So why is there a need on speaking about this child sexual abuse?
Very rightly, the way you said, Senti, the reason to speak about this is actually child sexual abuse is one of the most heinous crimes that is happening in our society. And it is prevalent to an extent where I can safely say that almost every one of you who's listening today, think back and you have most probably definitely been touched inappropriately at some point in life. Okay? I'm not talking about child sexual abuse per se, but just inappropriately touched sometime or the other. When I speak about child sexual abuse, again, it's like if we are 10 people in a room, definitely more than 50% of us have had an experience which can fit under the label of child sexual abuse. That is the level of prevalence of it. And yet, none of us talk about it. Each and every one of us is suffering in silence alone because we think I'm the only one who underwent it. I'm the only one who suffered. And there's so much of shame, there's so much of guilt that it is surrounded by that we kind of just feel that it is literally my cross to bear and I have to live with it my life through. And so I hope, like today, we are speaking about it today, the importance of speaking out. Because when you speak about your experience, you give people around you the confidence to speak about what they may have undergone.
True.
And it's only when we speak about it can we heal from the trauma.
Yes, I would definitely agree to what you said, ma'am. Also, I want to ask you, what could be the stigmas relating to child sexual abuse?
When we talk about the stigmas relating to child sexual abuse, one of them is literally this: the most difficult part from a societal point of view becomes the fact that the abuser is not a stranger. If it were a stranger, it would be so easy to point fingers or to demand justice or to punish the person, right? More often than not, because it is a family member or it is someone known to the family, people literally don't know what to do about it. And so most of the times, if a child finds the courage to, they've kind of figured that whatever is going on is inappropriate, and let's say they speak to their parent about it. Most of the time what happens is that the parent either doubts the child and says, are you sure? You're just imagining it. Or they'll say, shh, don't ever talk about it again. Just keep quiet. All right. So we are trying to completely hush it up because literally we don't know what to do about it. The parent feels the pain, but they don't know what to do about it. And that is one of the biggest issues that is around child sexual abuse as of now.
Ma'am, so in case, like if someone has been victimized, how can they be helped?
All right, Senti. So here I would say the first step, when someone has been victimized, how can they be helped? The answer lies much in the question itself. Why I say so is a lot of times, our minds rush to seeking justice. They rush to punishing the abuser. All right. And fair enough. Why not? We should seek justice. We should aim at punishing whoever is responsible. Okay. However, I feel that our first priority should be the child who has suffered. Let's first see that they are safe. So the first step is stopping it. Like I said, it is never a one-time event. Okay. So as soon as you get to know about it, first ensure that it cannot happen again, not even once. Okay. So that has to be your priority. The second thing has to be that the child needs proper psychological help. Just keeping it within the family or trying to hush it up is only going to add to psychological trauma for the child. So the importance of seeking professional help, speak to a counselor where we have our ways and means, where we talk to the child and we ensure that whatever happened cannot damage the child psychologically anymore. They don't have to suffer with it here on. That it's over and done with, and you can heal and move on from it. That is what is important, and that is how we need to help.
Also, as in a community, can it be prevented? If so, how can it be prevented?
Yes, Senti, I'm glad you asked this because I think when we talk about child sexual abuse, more important than intervention, that is, when we talked about how to help, is prevention, because that should be our main priority. That let's create a society, let's create a community where we can minimize, or in a fantasy world, literally have a place where every child is safe and no child is at risk of child sexual abuse at all. And it is possible. It is totally possible. We have to be willing to talk about it. Okay. And there are proper ways and means to do it. Like we have the school program where we say we have a 3-pronged approach. Okay. So in the school program, what we do is, 1, we talk to the children. Okay. And we talk to children 4 years upwards. Now, what we are going to talk to 4 years is not going to be the same as what we're talking to 14 years. So it is age appropriate stuff that we teach them, talk to them. So nowadays, these terms, good touch, bad touch, are very common, but we have to understand that we must not take them casually. Sometimes if randomly someone talks to children about good touch, bad touch, it can do more harm than good. So it has to be done by a proper trained person in the right environment. And if children are given appropriate knowledge, we focus on giving them knowledge about how to keep themselves safe. That's it. Okay. We keep their innocence intact. We do not give them information that they should not be given. The idea is to not let them grow up before their time, to not expose them to information before their time, so to say. Okay. And like I said, it's a three-pronged approach. Means one, we speak to the students. Two, we speak to the staff. That is the teachers and any staff who comes in contact with the children, because them being aware is just as important. And third, very importantly, we speak to the parents, because the parents too need to be aware of exactly what we have informed their or taught to their children. And the importance of this is, let's say we have told children and informed them that this is it, and just in case something is happening, just in case you feel unsafe, the most important thing we teach children is you have to reach out to a trusted adult and tell them about it. Now, if the child reaches out to his or her parent, and the parent is going to be dismissive about it and say, shh, nothing happened, then the whole process is lost. So that's the importance of apprising the parents. And we equip them, we empower them, we teach them how to handle it. Because once again, when we talk to you, our focus will not be on punishing or giving justice. Our focus is going to be doing what's best for the child and ensuring that our child is protected and saved from harm. So definitely it is possible. If we want, we can make our society safer for our children.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for that. And finally, if there is any message that you would like to convey to our listeners this morning, ma'am.
For this, Senti, I would like to close on saying that, of course, we have just very briefly touched upon this topic, but the fact that if you have just listened to it, you have yourself contributed to making a positive change. Because, one, we have to shatter the silence. We have to shatter the silence about this. Just saying it out aloud, child sexual abuse, is not easy for most of us. Right? So, in fact, child sexual abuse, CSA. So, I like to instead call it also CSA, Child Safety Awareness. Okay? So, it is this awareness that if done properly, if you seek the information, if you are aware, you'll realize it is possible to keep our children safe. So, as a final word, I would say, one, realize that it does exist. Okay, just because people are not talking about it, don't think it doesn't. It is existing and happening right now, right here. Okay? Secondly, every child is at risk. I'm not saying this to create fear. I'm saying this so that we are aware. When we know our child is at risk, then we take care to keep him or her safe. Right? So know that every child is at risk. It's also good to know that, yes, child sexual abuse is a crime. Okay, so our country recognizes that that's a crime. That also should give you a sort of a confidence to know that you have a right to keep your child safe. Fine. And the most important in all of this is it is preventable. The only thing that is allowing it to happen is all of our silences. So if we are able to break our silence about it, spread the word, be willing as a community, because each of us trying to keep our children safe in our own homes is not enough. It has to be a community effort. We have to be willing to talk about it, okay? And do the needful to create a society where our children are safe. So child safety awareness is all about prevention, but know also this, that God forbid if any of you have undergone it, whether you're still a child, whether you're an adult now, know that help is available. You don't have to suffer lifelong. Just reach out and seek help and you can get past it. You do not deserve to live in pain. Please reach out, seek help. It was none of your fault. You were victimized. You're a victim. Reach out, seek help, and you shall be healed.
Well, thank you so much for that encouraging and motivating message. And it has been very educative. I'm sure the listeners must have learned a lot, as much as I did from you today. Well, thank you so much once again, ma'am.
Thank you, Senti. Always good to speak to you.
Please like and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for the latest contents. Also, follow us on all our social media handles.